the 2nd of July 2015, a serious environmental incident occurred at Clarence Colliery near Lithgow in New South Wales, when more than 2,300 tonnes of coal material spilt from a storage area on the premises. This spill entered the Wollangambe River within the World Heritage listed Greater Blue Mountains National Park. Clarence Colliery alerted the New South Wales Environment Protection Authority. In its role as environment protector, the EPA began to carefully assess the severity of the incident.
I mean, initially, as we arrived there on the site and identified the reject emplacement area 3, there was a whole section of the wall had fallen out, and there's coal fines and coal material has all strewn down into this drainage line. So that was very much immediately apparent that there was a serious problem. The primary question that was coming to us was, well, how far has this material gone? How far down the river has it gone?
You could see the absolute scale and the volume of material that had been had been eroded away from the back of the REA3. So we had some understanding that this was a major incident, and the volume of material shortly, just downstream of the REA3 was, up to my sort of shoulder height in some places. So we had a feel that this was a major incident. I walked 200 metres down the river and I could still see black material down there. We had to start thinking about how we're going to clean this thing up. This is a highly remote site that you can only walk into or be helicoptered into. We were, trying to juggle everything, trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together and really work towards, I guess, really the end goal, which was understanding what had happened, why it had happened, looking towards, some legal avenues, plus also that clean-up. So I think in those initial stages were really difficult times for us. We had community expectations, people wanting a clean-up result in a very short space of time, and you're in an area that's almost impossible to access, a pristine environment where the more effort you make, potentially the more destruction you cause, the more effect you cause.
The EPA determined that more than 10 kilometres of the Wollangambe River had been impacted by the spill, with the coal material smothering vegetation and the stream bed. The EPA issued clean-up notices requiring coal material be removed from the sensitive environment.
We needed to provide some level of guidance and understanding, and we used the Office of Environment and Heritage experts to provide us some information to really drive that clean-up process and come up with the methodology that would not only achieve the outcome but not cause further damage to the environment. And that was really, really important to us when we were trying to figure out how we were going to deal with this.
The bush doctor was engaged by Clarence Colliery as part of the requirements of the clean-up notices. The EPA undertook 44 inspections as it oversaw the clean-up, whilst also leading an investigation into the cause of the spill.
So there was a team of roughly sort of 5 to 6 people working in the river at any given time. So there would be, 4 people within the river themselves. So they would just use, skipping the material out by hand, placing it in a bucket. When the bucket was full, taking it to the person on the bank, and the person on the bank would then empty that into the bulker bags that were placed on the side of the river. Now those guys were wearing dry suits and wore dry suits throughout. The water temperature was around sort of the 9-10 degree mark. It was absolutely freezing for those poor people to be in there, and they worked long, hard hours, and sometimes it would take them an hour to walk in and an hour to walk back out with their, all their gear. And our job was really to oversee what they were doing. in terms of did they remove enough material or were they removing too much material, and our job was to make sure that that balance was achieved. And we walked the entire 10.3 kilometres of the river. In many of those sections we walked numerous times. It was pretty tough, and those guys also did that, you know, the guys doing the clean-up did that day in, day out. So it was an incredible effort on their part, I think, to achieve what they achieved as well. We had to inspect every last part of the river. So it was really done by visual inspection followed by sampling, but actually walking the river yourself and actually being in the water.
A dedicated rotating team of 20 people carried out the cleanup. It took 51 weeks and more than 600 helicopter trips to remove the coal material, and cost Clarence Colliery over $2 million.
Behind the scenes, what was occupying our time when we weren't in the river, when we weren't doing research about those environments and being prepared for it, we were involved in the investigation side. The EPA has a specialist investigation unit within that those guys served a lot of the legal notices to collect information about how the event may or may not have happened, interviewed staff, contractors at the mine. So that sort of was building, you know, that's how the legal case was being built.
The investigation found that too much coal fine material was pumped into REA3, resulting in the overtopping and erosion of the wall, with coal material travelling into a drainage line and into the Wollangambe River. On the 14th of July 2017, the New South Wales Land and Environment Court convicted Clarence Colliery of 2 offences and imposed financial penalties totalling over $1 million, including the largest fine ever for a single EPA prosecution.
To get to the end point of it being clean, I guess we were satisfied that it was clean, and we'd achieved the ultimate goal, which was to remove as much material as was possible without impacting the environment any further. From the very onset, it was incredibly demanding, and it continued the entire way through, and every part of it was a challenge. Even, you know, right to the very the last day of, you know, preparing media, it was so tough. Then we were not expecting the terrain to be so hard. I don't think there will never be another case, and I certainly hope there isn't, where we have to investigate something like this. I have to say that we saw some amazing, beautiful parts of the country that we would never ever have seen if it wasn't for this. And a clean-up will normally be over in 24, 48 hours, maybe a week, but not 12 months. And to finally kind of be at the pointy end is a real relief. And I have to say, I'm really proud of our efforts, the EPA, the efforts of our colleagues from OEH, the national parks. I think everyone worked together really, really well, and it's part of the story that I think is really important to share, because we couldn't have done it on our own, and we were really, really well supported.
Following the cleanup, only trace amounts of coal remain, and the affected areas are showing signs of recovery and returning to their natural state.